Welcome back to my info dump series about my book series Aspects of Mourn, which is an anthology series coming out in the near future. Today, taking a break from the novels that I'm discussing and going back into generalizations. We're going to be talking about the Fates, the Pantheon, and the literary gods. This is kind of important in the large scheme of things because there are things that exist on Mourn thanks to the Pantheon, and we'll get into that. So let's take a look at these guys. The Fates, the three ladies, are pretty powerful. They hold the Pantheon at bay because the Pantheon, or in the scale of cosmic balance, whenever the gods interfered with mortals, it was like they were using Sephiroth's Big Bang spell to take out ants. And that was upsetting balances across creation, not just the universe that they were in, but across creation because they have so much power behind them. And the Fates also answerable to a higher power, as it were. I leave that to other people to decide what that is. But the higher power wanted the gods reined in because they were interfering too much and risking creation itself. So the gods were reined in, and they discovered through this that belief was more powerful than worship. So that's why the aspects were created to funnel belief, and belief is just a really powerful tool. They're just like, okay, we just got to get these people to believe in what we've created, and they'll believe in us. And we don't have to step in. And they haven't had to step in. And they're not allowed. They're allowed to do, they can converse with mortals. And they can do little minor things. And when they do those, even the minor things, it's subject to review by the other gods. As you will see in the very first book. Not spoil anything. There's something in the first book that pertains to that. The Pantheon tried to create new gods because they had to go away from being called gods, so they're just called the Pantheon now. So they tried their hand at creating gods. They decided, what would make a good god? And they looked through the various races and said, you know what? Writers, content creators, that's where we're going to get our bread and butter. And they had some successes, and even from Earth, they took William Shakespeare, they took Edgar Allan Poe, and a few others, as we'll get into later on. The one problem was, when you brought a literary back, their creations came with them. They were like, oh, crud. So it was a bunch of experimental stuff at first, as you'll see as we go through it. So even these literary gods, when they came into fruition, the Fates sighed and said, no, we're still doing almost using Sephiroth's spell, but now you're just kind of like using Ultima to squash an ant. We can't have this. So they didn't take powers away, they didn't send them back, but they said, okay, you can govern, you can guide, but you really can't do anything else. So they're like, okay, well, we can create a little bit, they can create homesteads, they can do things like that, but they can't interfere in day-to-day. So, yeah, as you'll see, and there'll be familiar faces to you, there's literary gods from other races that are present, but I will be sticking with those that are familiar to people on Earth, naturally. I'll mention other ones as we go through, when we go through books, but for the most part, there's a few that you're going to see. Hint, hint, they're public domain. Yeah. And with that, I will see you guys in the near future, and thank you for